Okay, dependency injection is a software design pattern in which components are given their dependencies instead of hard coding them within a component. So dependency injections are 5 types: value, factory, service, provider, and constant. Okay, so using this value you can declare the variables, okay, like in integer type or string type or any type of variables we can declare and assign the values to them, and we can use that values in any part of the application, like in services or controllers, in factories, okay, in filters, so anywhere we can use. So factory is a function. It's uh, the task for the factory is return the value. Okay, so this factory return the values to the controllers or services, and the services is used to uh, services contains a number of functions. Okay, these functions reusable functions, and so we can interact with the database, like mm, so using services we can execute or we can call the API services like double shell services or web services. Okay, and we can retrieve the data from that services and manipulate that data in the view. And the provider also same, and constant is used to create the constant values. So we can define our own custom services in AngularJS app and use them wherever required. So service and factory syntaxes. Okay, so this is the module. Okay, so you know already how we can create the module for the application, and this part is services syntax. Okay, so there is a service function in AngularJS to create the services. Okay, and module name and service in double quotes or single quotes we can use here. Okay, service name and function. So this function contains our logic. Okay, so we can use this service name in the controllers, and we can access the functions or variables in the services, okay, in controller. So we can create a number of functions in service and factory. So this is the module, okay, application module name dot factory method. Okay, using this method we can create factory in AngularJS. So this is the factory name, okay, and function. So this factory, okay, returns always return value. Okay, so mm, the definition of factory, main definition of factory is a function which is used to return value. Okay, it creates value on demand wherever service or controller requests. If service or controller requests a return value, okay, we can create functions and done the functionality in factory and use that result value in controller services. Okay, so first of all, value. So value is simple JavaScript object. It is used to pass values to controllers, okay, during configuration phase. So for example, you want to use values in controller, okay, default values. So we can use value method in AngularJS to create the variables, okay, like values. The syntax of the value is syntax uh, use scope dot value, okay, variable name and comma and value here. Okay, so we can use this variable name in the controller or services or factories anywhere. Okay, sorry, this is the module name. Okay, like app. So there's some example for this value. Okay, so in contact controller, okay, I want to uh, display default values. Okay, in views folder, contact us. So create one sample paragraph. This paragraph contains uh, scope variable we need to create here. Sample text. Okay, this is the variable. Sample text is the variable. So in contact controller, scope dot sample text equal to. So here in the outside of the controller, use application module dot value my text is the variable name. Okay, dot this double quotes contains the value of my text variable. The value is like, so this is the value. Okay, assume that. So this value is stored in displayed in paragraph. So use this variable name in the function. Okay, and directly we can assign that variable into this sample text. So now run this example. Okay, so this text is displayed from, okay, value method. Okay, this is the method value. So created one variable and this variable contains this value. Okay, this value is assigned to our scope variable. Okay, this variable, if you want to use this variable in the controller, compulsory inject that variable name in the function. Okay, so anything in the scope control, scope or services or factories or filters or anything you want to use that functionality in controller. So first of all we need to inject that service name or factory name or anything in the function. After that we can use that in the controller. Okay, so this is the value in the dependency injection. Next, factory. Okay, so factory is a function which is used to return values. So the example for factory, so take here two text boxes, input type equal to text and placeholder equal to value a and ng model equal to value 1. Okay, this is the scope variable. Value 1, value 2, and next second text box. Okay, value b. The scope variable is value 2 and result. So I want to display the result of addition of two numbers. Okay, so using factory, so we can display the result in using expression addition result. Okay, and one button, type equal to button and value equal to addition, and ng click equal to my add function. Okay, my addition function. So when you click on this button, okay, this function is executed in the controller, and this function is interactive with the factory. Okay, so the factory return the addition of two numbers to the controller. So we'll see this example. So actually our controller is contact controller. This contact controller scope dot my add addition function equal to function. Okay, so create one factory. So outside of the controller, app dot factory addition fact. Okay, and function. So this factory uh, create one variable where return return value equal to okay return value. Next, so one object type variable is created here, and next, so using this return value, so we can create function here. Function equal to like a function name my addition equal to function. Okay, next return. So here for my addition function we need to provide the parameters. uh, a comma b. Okay, two values are passing to this function. Okay, and return a plus b. Okay, and finally we can return the return value. Okay, this object type variable. So this variable contains the result of addition of these two numbers. Okay, so here outside of the controller we created factory, and this factory contains some function. This function is return the addition of these two numbers. Okay, only value is returning. So factory is a function which is used to return value. Okay, so that here also in our example the value is returning, okay, to the controller. So in this scenario we need to call this factory name, okay, in controller, and after that we can access function name, okay, in the controller. So copy this factory name and inject here in the controller. Okay, next in the my add addition function, so this is addition result. Okay, we can assign the result to this variable equal to addition fact dot my addition function. Okay, and two parameters we can pass. Okay, so inject the factory name in the controller, and after that we can access the functional functions in the controller. Okay, so the factory function, okay, needs two parameters, so we need to pass the parameters. Okay, parse int scope dot value 1 and comma parse int scope dot value 2. Okay, so observe this function needs two parameters. Okay, the scope value 1 is and value 2 is scope variables here. Okay, text box values, first text box value and second text box value. So when you click on this button, okay, this function is executed in the controller. Okay, in the controller, in this function, okay, we are passing the values to the factory. Okay, and the addition fact dot my addition function needs two parameters. Okay, scope dot value 1 comma scope dot value 2 we are passing to this function, and here in the factory these two values are addition, and return that value to this addition variable and display that result in addition result. Okay, so run this example once. Okay, value 1 and value 2, so value 1 is 5 and value 2 is 6. Click on addition button, so the result is 11 displayed. Okay, so this is the use of factories. So whenever controller services needs return value, so we can use factories. Next, services. So service is a singleton JavaScript object containing a set of functions to perform certain tasks. Okay, service contains set of functions. Set of functions uh, performs certain tasks, and services are defined using services function and then injected into controllers. Okay, like factory, so we need to inject the service in controller, and we can access the set of functions in the service, okay, in controller from service. So this example, okay, we can do by using services also. Okay, go to here home. Okay, same functionality. Okay, in the home controller, app dot controller function. scope. So this controller contains this function scope dot addition function equal to. So when you click on the button in the home controller, home template, so this function is executed, and after that we need to create one service method we need to use to create the services in AngularJS. Addition service, okay, and function. So in the addition function, addition service, create some functions, okay, like a number of functions we can create, but this dot addition is the function, okay, addition function. So this function needs two parameters x comma y, and return x plus y. So inject this service name in controller, and after that scope dot addition result equal to scope dot addition service dot addition is the function name, okay. Here also same, parse int scope dot value 1 comma parse int scope dot value 2, okay. Two parameters pass into the addition function, and this addition function return the value, the addition of two numbers. Addition of these two values. So now run this example once. In the home controller, two values 3 comma 7, the addition of these two numbers is 10, okay. The result is displayed using service, okay. And here we can create number of functions. This dot multiply function, okay. Multiply function also needs two parameters, a comma b, and return a into b, okay. So multiplication. So create one variable here and create one button for the multiplication. Okay, multiply, and the function name is my multiplication function. So create that function name here, scope dot, and the same result we are getting from the service, and function name. The result is addition of two numbers result. Multiplication of two numbers result. Okay, multiply. Okay, pass in these two parameters to the function and return the multiplication of the two numbers into this function and display the result in multiply result variable. Let's save this and run this example. Okay, to addition of two numbers and multiplication of two numbers. 3, 4 addition 7 and multiplication is 12. Okay, the result is correct. So this is the services and factories, and we can write the services like this. Okay, we can use the factories and services in like this example. Okay, this is the service and math service. Math service contains number of functions. These functions return the result to this another service. Okay, calculator service. So this calculator service, okay, injecting math service. This service injecting in calculator service and accessing these functions in this service. Okay, this dot square another function. Okay, function is passing to the one value. Okay, square of one number and cube. Okay, this finally in this controller calculator service using, but here two service is there, but only one calculator service is using. This calculator service interact with the math service. So this is the main service, and the provider will explain in next class. And contact and constant can be injected anywhere. The value of a constant should never be changed. Okay, constant values never be changed. So this is the syntax for the constant variables. Application module name dot constant is the function, and this is the constant variable name and constant value. Okay, so this is the dependency injection, and services and factories are most important concepts in dependency injection. Okay, so most of the real-time applications compulsory use services and factories. And one more service is here in AngularJS, queue service. Okay, so last class we had discussed about HTTP service. Okay, to interact with HTTP services, HTTP, so to read the data from uh, from services or databases. Okay, we can use HTTP service. Okay, service is a core Angular service that faster communicating with the HTTP servers. Okay, this service is used to read the data from HTTP services servers, and the result is in JSON format. Okay, so we can interact with the database and read the data from the database. So this is one service, and another service is queue service. Okay, like HTTP service, queue service also works to read the data from the database, but there is another features available. Okay, a service that helps you run functions asynchronously. Okay, using queue service we can execute multiple functions asynchronously, but in HTTP service we can execute only one service. Okay, so in queue service we can execute multiple functions asynchronously and use their return values when they are done processing. Okay, after read the data from database we can use that data, and we can manipulate the data in the views. So this is an implementation of promises or deferred objects. Okay, in queue service there is a one important words: promise, deferred, reject. Okay, these are the three important words in queue service. So promise is in AngularJS is provided view the built-in queue service. Okay, queue service dot service. They provide a way to execute asynchronous functions in a series by registering them with a promise object. Okay, so we need to create the promise object, and after that we can execute uh, multiple functions asynchronously. Okay, using promise object. And deferred object is the simply an object that exposes a promise as well as the associated methods for resolving that promise. So deferred object, if any the read data is read from the database, okay, without any errors. Okay, the result is sent to the controller, okay, without any issues. If any small issues is there, okay, deferred is resolved using resolve method. If any highly issue is there, okay, you reject that service by using reject method, and notify method notify the error to the customer. Okay, the associated promise object can be accessed via the promise property. Okay, this promise property to use to resolve, reject, and notify. The constructor using the deferred function and exposes three main methods. Okay, this is the deferred method. Okay, queues are queue service dot deferred. This deferred function contains resolve, reject, and notify. Okay, resolve method return the data to the result to the controller or services. Okay, if successfully read the data from database, and if any errors is there, the service is reject by this reject method, and notify method notify to the user. So reject, we have seen how to successfully resolve a promise, but what happens if the async function fails? Okay, if function fails, okay, rather than using the resolve method, we can call the reject method if something goes wrong. Okay, if any error is there, so we can directly call the resolve method, okay, and reject that function using reject function. So yesterday we have done an example using service. Okay, So all the states information we are displaying, okay, using HTTP service. But in queue service also, okay, but using queue service also we can read that all the states information. Okay, state details already is there template. So copy this one. Okay, states controller. Okay, states info is the service. Okay, this service contains queue service. Okay, outside of the controller we can create service. Okay, app.service and service name is states info. Okay, the states info using queue HTTP service and queue service. Okay, so inject that two services in the service function. After that we can use that services in services or factories or anything. Okay, service return this function. Okay, service return this function. So get data is the function in service. Okay, so this function contains this information. So we created differ variable. Okay, as we discussed here. Okay, deferred q dot defer and using HTTP service dot get function. Okay, like in yesterday's example, HTTP dot get function we can use to read the data from the service. Okay, but in HTTP service get service using deferred object resolve the data. Okay, without any errors. If we get the data from the database, so resolve method resolve the data and return the data to the controller. Okay, this controller. If any error is there, reject method reject the service and notify the error. Okay, notify the error. Resolve, reject and notify. So resolve method, reject method and notify method is there. If successfully read the data from the database, okay, this service return this def.promise object. Okay, promise object. This promise object return the data to this function, okay, get data function, and manipulate the data in states info. Okay, my states details. So call this service name in the controller. Okay, states info. So this is the function name. So when you click on this button, okay, okay, so actually this is state details, right? States info. So when you click on this button, this function is executed, and this is the my states info is the variable. Okay, this variable contains all the states information and display all states here. Okay, using queue service. Okay, in real-time applications also use queue service to read the data from the services. Okay, HTTP to interact with the remote servers. Okay, directly use http.get method. Okay, use queue service to interact with the remote servers. Okay, in real-time applications. So this is the most important topic, queue service. So now we execute this. So here we have states info page. So click on this. Okay, all states information is get from this service. Okay, using queue service. So directly you can click on this and redirect to another page. Okay, this part already last class completed. Okay, this is the state details controller. This part also we can done using queue service. Okay, so queue service and HTTP service and dependency injection and